going to take a look at Will You Love Me Tomorrow, sometimes called Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow, or originally even just called Tomorrow. Of course, a Carole King song that she wrote when she was really young, supposedly 17. And recorded in 1960, became a big hit for the Shirelles. Of course, Carole was working for Don Kirshner and writing songs for all kinds of acts. Of course, we won't go too much into the whole history of Carole King. Hopefully you've seen the musical, beautiful, and you've probably got Tapestry sitting on your shelf someplace, or at least on your iPod. Well, in 1971, she recorded the song as part of her Tapestry album because they wanted to do one of her old songs. And of course, in the old days, she wrote songs with Gerry Goffin, her husband, and they were a really successful songwriting team till he ran into problems. And anyway, beyond the scope of what I want to talk about here. The song, what we're going to do with this is look at it a lot of different ways. It's a very piano, well, she plays piano, of course. Now, the original recording had James Taylor playing a guitar part where he was capoed at the 3rd fret, playing in the key of A, thinking in A, which is a typical key for him. It's really in the key of C, so she's playing C on the piano. We're going to look at it more piano-y than guitar-y, and look more at how a simple way to play it, just strumming the chords, learning the chords, of course, first. Unusual chords because of things that happen on the piano. We've got these hybrid chords that guitar players don't use too often, but piano players do all the time, and they're chords with unusual bass notes or a very extended chord. And I'm going to talk more about that particular one, which sometimes could be called F with G in the bass, it could be called G11, it could be called G sus2, sus4, add 11. Anyway, let me think. Yeah, we could even get away with that one. But we'll talk about that. But we'll look at a few different ways of playing the song. One, just strumming the chords real simply. Another, just doing a straight arpeggio. Keeping something like that going. But we'll also look at a lot of the piano-y type things. Did I use that word again? Oh, what am I thinking? Anyway, I have an arrangement of it in tablature that is something more like what you would do on the piano, but picked out on the guitar. So we'll get to all of that as this lesson evolves. First, we're going to take a look at the chords. We'll talk about a very simple strumming pattern, sort of like a campfire version. Then we'll take a look at an arpeggio finger-picking version, and then we will take a look at the tablature that would be something you might want to do if somebody else is singing it. There might be a lot going on in there that singing it at the same time could cause a problem. But then the best thing for you would be to put together your own hybrid version. You could strum a few verses. You could play this little lick. Anyway, we'll get back to that. Okay, coming up, a lesson on Carole King and Gerry Goffin's tune, Will You Love Me Tomorrow? We have a lot of normal chords in the song and a few very unusual chords. Not necessarily hard, but unusual. We're in the key of C, so we're going to see C chords, and we're going to be doing a little moving around within the chord when we're working on the piano arrangement. But we're going to see F chords, and we usually are going to play them with a full bar, but there may be times when you want to play them using your thumb, because a lot of times we could have the E in there, making it an F major 7. But one way or another, you want to play an F. You could even play the little F, because in the introduction, that's what I would use. When it goes to the F chord, we'll go up to the F in the bass, so that we can play that little run. We could just strum this with a pick, very simple strum. Down, down, up, down, up. Just the basic folk strum. And so let's try that right now, just running through the chords and see how it works. We'll talk about the introduction a little bit later, but what I would do, even if I'm just going to do the simple campfire version, I would play the first 3 measures of the tab of the verse. Matter of fact, I'm going to talk about that now, because you should start working on this, right, because it's a little more difficult than everything else. So take a look at the tab, measure 5, put a C chord down, and then with the pick, just hit the 5th string, the 3rd string, and then the top 2 strings. Then add your 1st and 4th fingers to the F and the D, and then move them up. After 2 of those, just change it to an F chord. Go to your 3rd finger for the F, your 2nd finger for the A, and the same 2 notes that your 1st and 4th fingers had just been playing on the C chord, move them up, and then to the 5th and 6th fret for other notes out of the F chord, and then hit a G11. So that would be a slightly simplified way of playing of at least getting the introduction, so that people will know what song it is. There would be a lot of different ways we could do this with a fingerstyle accompaniment, and really the best thing would be to kind of a hybrid of sometimes just a straight arpeggio would sound great. Now we're in 4/4 time, so you could just hit a solid 8-note pattern. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I could go to the F. Now if I was going to fingerpick this, I would play my Fs without using a note on the 5th string, because I would skip the 5th string as part of the arpeggio. So straight arpeggio, the straight 8-note arpeggio that I'm doing there consists of 2 bass notes starting on either the 5th string or the 6th string, depending on where the bass note for the chord is, or the root of the chord, and then going to the 4th string. So I'm pretty much going, as far as strings go, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, using my 3 fingers on the top 3 strings, my thumb for the bottom 3. And that would sound great. I'll pick through a verse just like that, and I might. The other thing you could do in here, or the next thing you could do, is alter the sequence of notes. It doesn't have to be this. You could hit a bass note, and then 3 fingers, and then another bass note and another 3 fingers. So I'd really encourage you to work on random orders, always starting with the bass note, but then even possibly using 2 notes together. What I was doing there was I hit thumb, index, and then my second 2 fingers together, so that we hear the whole chord by the time we finish the measure. That's really the goal of a picking pattern, of arpeggio type patterns, is you want to make sure you hear every note in the chord somewhere in the measure. Let's take a look at the tablature and try some of the things that are going on in here. Now this has a lot of little fills that are more piano-like than guitar-like, and then various arpeggios and little percussion and all kinds of stuff. I haven't looked at it for a while, so I'm just going to kind of walk through it and talk about it. The introduction, we start with our C chord, and we're going to have that little change. And we've already talked about this in a couple of other segments where we've got some chords working their way up the neck. Really important thing to do on this chord is don't let go of that C in the bass until you have to. Don't do this. You're going to have to let go of it for there, but we want to hear this. Now this hammer-on, the G to A, I would hit that with my index finger down here, but when I'm doing it at the end of the first measure, I wouldn't want it to ring very long. I wouldn't want to do this. Well, you see what I mean. It sounds terrible. So you want to let go of it kind of quickly, or I wouldn't even do it there. I might just play it the way I have in the first measure of the second line without the hammer-on. But after the second C, it sounds great because it's a note that is part of our F chord. Now the G11, and this brings in the grab type thing that I've talked about before. What we have is the rhythm. Notice, well, we've got the chord and the bass notes doing sort of separate things. So what we hear in the bass is 1, 2, and 3, 4, and on the chord we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Every time we get to the G11, you could do any kind of thing like that. It could be a little busy there, but okay. So now we get into the singing, or the accompaniment for the singing, and notice I have taken that hammer-on out. So some of the parts, I'll play through as much of this as possible with less narration now, so you can hear what's going on. From the top. sing here if you like.